Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I welcome this debate today because I think it is so important to talk about the safety of our town centres and our high streets. And in the cities of London and Westminster, I am very proud that we have perhaps what is considered the nation's high street in Oxford Street. We also have Regent Street and Bond Street, but we also, equally importantly, have amazing local neighbourhood high streets like Marylebone High Street, St John's Wood High Street, that I visited last week. That's not in my constituency at the moment, but when I visited it last week, for Small Business Saturday, I was shocked to hear from shopkeepers about the rise in shoplifting. And then in Marylebone High Street, I met with the Marylebone Association recently, and they are really concerned, local people are really, really concerned about the huge increase in shoplifting in Marylebone High Street. And having spoken to shopkeepers, and the work that local councillors in Marylebone are doing with the local retail staff, they are now locking their doors and not allowing people in until they know who is coming in. Waitrose in Marylebone High Street now has taken away so many products, particularly alcohol, because they have organised gangs going in, particularly at certain times. And this is an organised operation. And I would like to see the police, the local police, do a lot more to tackle these shoplifting issues, particularly in places like Marylebone High Street. I welcome this debate today because I think it is really important that we do talk about the local policing of these town centres. I know that the government has very much put dealing with safety of town centres at the heart of its policing. We've also already mentioned from the member for Bordland about the government's retail crime action plan, which is really, really important. And also things like the antisocial behaviour action plan and the Safer Streets programmes, devolving money, funding and action to local communities, to the local councils and to the local police. And I think that's really important to highlight today, the importance of police and crime commissioners and police chiefs on how we do ensure that our town centres and our high streets are safe. And in London, you'll be pleased to know that we have a rather interesting situation with the Labour Mayor, Sadiq Khan, where, in fact, crime has gone up in the last 7 years since he has been Mayor. In fact, in the last year alone, crime has gone up in London by 11%. That's 1,100 extra crimes. And recently there's been some research done on crime on the tube, which has increased by over 50%, fueled by thefts and robberies. People coming into the centre to shop or have a good night out on the nighttime economy that we can offer in the West End. Oxford Circus and Leicester Square are among the worst tube stations for theft. This is what has happened under Sadiq Khan's Police and Crime Commissioner for London. The member for Old Bexing Sidcup did raise this issue during the Shadow Minister's speech and said that obviously Sadiq Khan has failed to recruit over 1,000 extra officers on top of the 3,666 police officers that the government has funded him to do so with the Met and the City of London Police. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, I think it is really important to understand that it is up to local police teams. In London we have borough commanders. I am very pleased that we have an excellent borough commander, Louise Pettiford, ably supported by Chief Superintendent Beth Peary. But their hands have been slightly tied, I fear, in Westminster in particular, because in Westminster we have amazing neighbourhood police teams, but they are often taken away from their neighbourhood duties to undertake ceremonial and protest duties, because Westminster is home to over 500 demonstrations, marches and protests in a year alone. And also, obviously, all the ceremonial activities like the changing of the guards. And that's why I have recently written to the Deputy Assistant Commissioner, Rolf, to ask if the Met will establish a central team, police team, that will undertake the ceremonial duties in particular, so that we are not losing our neighbourhood police teams on a weekly basis. And it's very, very important, I think, to really acknowledge the excellent work that our neighbourhood police officers do, they are equally frustrated that they are taken off neighbourhood duties to do ceremonial duties. I also think it's very important to highlight that when our neighbourhood police officers are taken away to do ceremonial duties or protests, that leaves a huge vacuum, and we are seeing a huge increase in antisocial behaviour in places like the Cathedral area, just down in Victoria Street, Great Peter Street, and around St Matthew's Primary School. And I have been absolutely heartbroken, Madam Deputy Speaker, to read letters from Year 6 children from St Matthew's Primary School, outlining what they are seeing walking to school and being picked up walking back from school. Men urinating, defecating in the street outside their school. Men and women taking drugs and acting in a very, very antisocial behaviour. And I want to see more police action on this. I recently held a local public meeting just off Victoria Street with the Cathedral area residents group, and over 100 people turned up, and they were absolutely sick to the back teeth of having to deal with all this antisocial behaviour in their local neighbourhood off Victoria Street. It is absolutely imperative that the police take an anti-zero tolerance approach to this type of behaviour, as does the council, Westminster City Council. And I am very disappointed to report that in the last 18 months we have seen a real increase in antisocial behaviour across Westminster, but particularly on people who are street drinking and who are begging, and I would like the council to do an awful lot more. I produced a crime plan last year, having surveyed across Westminster. Nearly 5,000 people responded, and the top priority for them was seeing more police officers on our street, because we know if we see police officers on our street, in our neighbourhoods, in our high streets, that will prevent crime, that will stop the shoplifting. And it is very, very important that we get a grip of this. Of course, yeah.
If it's police officers or more police officers the Honourable Lady thinks we need, shouldn't she support this motion by the Labour Party?
I thank the gentleman for his point. I would go back to what I said earlier, is that the government has given funding to the Labour Mayor of London. He failed to use that money to recruit up to 1,000 extra on top of the 3,600 police officers that the police have now funded. That money then went back into the pot, and other police forces have taken advantage of that. What we have seen over the last 7 years under Sadiq Khan is failure on many, many areas. But the biggest one has been crime. And you go and ask any community across London what their biggest fear is, what their biggest concern is. It is crime and antisocial behaviour. And there is one person who has got the answer there. It's Sadiq Khan, and he has failed to answer that question all the time. Madam Deputy Speaker, what local people want is to see a real zero tolerance approach to antisocial behaviour and crime, particularly in our shops, which are beloved shops across Westminster, and also our major brands. I visited Boots in Piccadilly last year and last summer, and I was shocked to hear the number of incidents they are dealing with day in, day out. They are the only pharmacy open in London at midnight. So you can imagine that people who are desperately needing medication will go to that Boots. And that means that it is open, and obviously with the nighttime comment that it is, they are often the victims of crime, of assaults and of shoplifting. And they call the police, and the police do not turn up. From all the meetings I've had with local people over the last year or two on this issue, the biggest concern people raise with me is the fact that when they do call the police, they don't turn up. It might not be a life-threatening issue. It might not be the fact that someone's about to die, but they want to hear the police come and deal with this person who is comatose on the street, or deal with a shoplifter who is there currently stealing. And I think it's really, really important that the public don't give up on the police. The police do an amazing job. Our officers are there day in, day out for us. They are being let down by the fact that there's not serious leadership always in the police, making sure that these bobbies on our beat are doing what they should be doing. But the public have got to be encouraged to continue to report crime. I've only just learned that you can report crime on Twitter or Facebook. That is really easy. And then you get a crime report, and then you can follow it up. And the police do need this information so that they can put the resources where it is needed. Madam Deputy Speaker, I will conclude with the fact that I do welcome the opportunity to debate the importance of town centre safety and the importance of keeping our high streets safe. We need more police officers on our street. In London, we have a Labour mayor who has let us down time and time again. It is not about the funding of police officers, it's about actually recruiting the police officers and putting them on our streets.